LaunchPads is one of the best ways to get 100x and then some, but is now the right season to expect your 100x's. Now we can see over here with the Bluezilla ecosystem, one of my favorite ecosystems over here. They've got MetaMate, Polysport, MetaFame, MetaShooter, really focused on the metaverse, launching in April 12th, April 14th, April 15th, and April 21st. Is now the right time to expect 100x's? Well, there is a thing called trend is your friend. Ride it until its end, until it reaches the bend. We're going to look at the IDO trend, how to figure it out, and how to get that high level thinking so you can best prepare yourself for success. So if you like today's content, like, subscribe, hit the bell notification. If you don't know me by now, my name is Jiggy. I'm the award-winning author of The Extraordinary New Venture Capital Opportunity, How to Invest Like a Pro. Been featured in the best-selling book, High Probability Trading Strategies, back in 2008, where I used to focus only on currencies, but now exclusive on cryptocurrency. So let's dive straight in. First things first, we are focused on the high-level picture of what the heck is an IDO, initial DEX offering. The way I like to think of it in literal terms, what it is when a project gets listed for the first time and you can purchase before it gets listed, right? That's the main thing. But what I wanted to get across to you before we really get into the detail today is we are buying at what I refer to as a seed round. It's when it's a baby, it's young, it's early, the project has just launched, it's just got its initial team and traction and minimal viable product, etc., etc., etc. And the vision is many projects, but not all projects, we don't know in advance, are going to do well. And how I like to think about it is the market cap is less than 10 million. Well, when it comes to IDOs, it's less than $500,000. Market cap is less than $200,000, etc. But in this example that I'm just showing is less than 10 million, just to get the concept. Now, when there's a project that's very young, under 10 million, under 1 million, under 500,000, the upside potential is huge. So if we refer to this as a $1 billion market cap, not all of them are going to make it, but a handful will. But the upside potential is 100x, 500x, 1000x, 10,000x, depending on if you go into Ethereum in its ICO, which is the equivalent of an IDO back in 2015, initially in its, it would have gone up and down, but between where it started and where it is today, that's in the thousands of X's. So that's the whole premise of the high risk, high reward when it comes to IDO. And what we're looking for is really to ride the project until it gets to its next evolution, where it sprouts. Because if you get in later, the multiples are less. That's just the name of the game. So where there's more mature projects like that are already top 200 coins, top 100 coins, they're already a giant oak tree, and the upside potential from where they are to $1 billion market cap is going to be less. So for instance, going from $500 million to $1 billion over here, you're going to have a lot less risk. You want to also read the charts, but the upside potential is less versus taking more risk, which is at the younger phase. It's like a young seed that might not survive, but the upside potential is much higher. So that's the whole thing when it comes to IDOs. And if you want to learn more about the high premise and the high level thinking of IDOs, take my free IDO and Launchpad Masterclass is in the link below. Because what I'm going to cover with you today, by the way, it looks like this, free IDO and Launchpad Masterclass, you'll get instant access. I really focus around the Bluezilla ecosystem. I like the guaranteed allocations. I've been really following them quite tightly since BSC pad launched in March 2021. So the overall Launchpad is very good. So what we want to be aware of is the launches are starting to come, right? This is the most that we've had in a very long while because we've been in a bearish market condition. And we've got MetaMate, Polysports, MetaFame, MetaShooter coming up over pretty much all this week, right? All this week and maybe the next 10 days or so. How should we anticipate their performance? All right, well, the macro indicator, how to know what is the IDO trend. The trend is your friend, ride it until its end, until it reaches its bend. Now that's for traditional trading, buying and selling tokens and reading the markets. But we can actually use Bitcoin as a macro indicator to give us a feel for what's likely to occur. So to keep it really, really simple, 2017 bull run, price was very literally just pointing upwards. During this phase, and at the time, it would have looked like this. So it was like this. Back then they were called ICOs. Anything in this phase, ICOs, and now we're calling them IDOs, initial DEX offerings, because DEXs are much better than they were in 2017. They do really well. We're talking about 20x's, 50x's, 100x's, 500x's, 1000x's. During this market condition, when the markets are going down, they do not perform well, right? The IDOs do not perform well, right? We want to be aware of those. So I'm just going to clear this up now, and I want to look at this over here like so, and then do the same thing over here. So I want to get the clear picture on IDOs and ICOs. Well, now we're talking about IDOs. Here, they'll perform incredibly well, right? If you go into any IDOs during this phase, you would have done really well. During this phase, you would have done pretty well. Yeah, we saw many 100x's, some 1000x's, some 500x's, 700x's, 300x's. We saw a lot of x's, which is great. But what you also want to be aware of is the reverse, the inverse. The opposite is true. So when the market hit its peak in 2017, end of 2017, going to 2018, 2019, ICOs did not perform as well, not even close. And it wasn't even because of the strength of the projects. Often it's because of just pure market conditions. So now when we zoom in over here, IDOs do not perform and did not perform well over here. They performed terribly in this condition. And also, that's why many projects would have put IDOs on hold, because they know that they do not perform well in these conditions. So what are we anticipating with Bitcoin to give us a clue? Are we going to get a surge? Is this the beginning of a surge to the upside? Or should we expect downward movement? Well, I use a momentum indicator called Stochastics RSI, and you can see when the blue line crosses below the red, the market tends to move sideways to down. So the blue line is just crossed below the red. So I'm anticipating, I'm oversimplifying this because I use something called Elliott wave and Fibonacci. I'm anticipating that the market's going to have one more leg to the downside. And if that's the case, these are not optimal conditions to get 100x, 500x's, 300x's, because the optimism is just not there, especially if it does unfold like this. Doesn't mean it's going to, it just means that it's highly probable that this is likely to happen over the next 4 to 10 weeks, mid-June. We want to be really aware of this. So what is this season right now? Where are we right now? Well, what is great when the market is like this and potentially like this is sometimes the best time to buy your IDO LaunchPad membership. Why? Because there's a lot of fear in the market, a lot of uncertainty in the market, and people panic. And therefore, if they're not performing well or there's not many IDOs, people naturally sell their membership. When people sell the membership, there's a lot of selling pressure. When there's a lot of selling pressure, the price comes down. So literally a few months ago, so if we look at these projects over here, we can see that they're launching on Polypad, on GameZone, on NFT Launch, MetaVPad, ValusPad, PostPad, BSEPad, etc., etc. Now, just a few months ago, these were like 10 times more expensive. Like they are going for what's going to cost you $7,000 today, literally around 6, 7, 8 weeks ago, was costing $70,000, $100,000, some of them $150,000. And today they are massively discounted, which is not comfortable if you've been holding during that time. But it's important to know, as part of this strategy, as part of IDOs, when we're looking at this, when we're looking to get in very young projects, is not just all sunshine and rainbows. When you're getting it down here, you have to take the good with the bad. And the bad is when the markets are not optimistic, when there's fear, when Bitcoin is moving down 20, 30, 40, 50%, IDOs, the tokens themselves, they crash, as in the membership tokens. And then the IDOs themselves don't perform well. Like they will go up. Even if they've done a 500x, it's not uncommon that they come right away back down to like a 30x. So it's like a 70, 80, 90, sometimes 95% correction. So it's very volatile. So you have to understand that as well. In the masterclass, I covered the vesting schedules, how to understand the vesting schedules and get the most out of your Launchpad memberships. So right now, I'm going to finish on one more thing over here. Is I'm anticipating mid-June to the second half of the year. I believe that Bitcoin is likely, not guaranteed, because we can only do probabilities, never certainties, is likely to go on to make all-time new highs, potentially breaking this high, so it's all-time new highs, and maybe going on to do a six-figure Bitcoin. Now, if this occurs, it'll be similar to this, and it'll be similar to the 2017 ICO bull run. And if that occurs, then the optimism just goes crazy. And IDOs perform incredibly well. Now, when there's consistent IDOs getting 100x, one after the other, well, guess what happens? The demand for the membership token goes up, because then everyone wants the membership. Then it becomes gold. Right now, it's almost like it's dirt. It's like no one wants them. It's like if you look at the price action, if I just pull it up on CoinMarketCap, let's just use MetaVPad as an example. I'm just going to go to CoinMarketCap. My Wi-Fi is always a bit slow when I'm doing the recordings. It is what it is, but we will do the best with what we have. So we're going to MetaVPad and look at the price fluctuation. Right, this was, I think at its peak was like $1.50. Like it did 1,000x, but you can see that the price has literally just been sideways to down. Like, so you can tell, like, there's no optimism. There's not been many projects, and it's just been down, right the way down to under 3 cents, which in my opinion is unbelievable, but kind of expected, taking into account what Bitcoin is doing and what it's been doing for a while. So just be really, really aware that IDOs is not a comfortable strategy, in the sense of there's massive ups, massive downs, and you have to factor that into your business plan. There's vesting schedules, so when you get your tokens, there's lock-in periods. But the main thing I want to get across today is the correlation with Bitcoin's price and IDOs, how they perform. When the Bitcoin price is very bullish, and potentially bullish after June, that's peak IDO season, and you want to get your membership before then, and don't anticipate anything too great when the market is down. And if we do get another leg down, I wouldn't anticipate anything that great. It's going to be a longer term hold for if the market does really, really take off. So if you want to learn more about IDOs and Launchpad, take my free IDO and Launchpad masterclass. I cover really the high level, your thinking around it. So it's not just the how to, but it's like how to really think about it to get your strategy right, your exit strategy right. Are you going to use the utility of the token, but the correlation between Bitcoin and how IDOs normally perform. So if you like today's content, like, subscribe, hit the bell notification. I'm going to read you a quote from a book. It's one of my favorites. It's from MJ, Michael Jordan, and it says the following: I've missed more than 9,000 shots in my career. I've lost almost 300 games. 26 times I've been trusted to take the game-winning shot and missed. I've failed over and over and over again in my life, and that is why I succeed. Now, I know people that have done IDOs, and there's been major highs and major lows, like literally where their IDO membership doubled, tripled, quadrupled, went up 10 times, and only to see it come the way back down again. I've seen IDOs that have been entered into, and when you got 10% allocation, do a 200x, 500x, some do a 1,000x, all the way to come back down to a 10x, 20x, 30x. Very volatile. But markets tend to move in, they expand and they contract. So I also do a lot of stuff on Elliott Wave and Fibonacci, which you can also click in the same link, Elliott Wave and Fibonacci Masterclass, to read the markets. But IDOs are no different. Human psychology, the speculation is there. In fact, it's even more volatile because there's such young projects. There's not as many fundamentals, and they are early in their project, and the roadmap is long. So you have to know that the markets, they're going to move in their cycles. And when there's big announcements, big centralized exchange listings, mainnet, the alpha testing, partnerships, etc., these cause cycles and trends, and it's just not one direction. Really, really important to understand. So what do you think? Is now IDO season, or is now the time to buy your LaunchPads and wait for peak IDO season? Or is it, nah, not for me, too much risk for my appetite? I rather just stick to staking, yield farming, or Elliott Wave and Fibonacci and trading the markets. All right, like, subscribe, hit the bell notification, and I'll see you very soon.